Hey guys, I'm in Dhaka, Bangladesh, and having a great time so far. I arrived late last night and didn't really have any issues at the airport, which is quite relieving. There were some officials there in full hazmat, as you would expect with all this coronavirus nonsense that's going around at the moment. Visa on arrival, fairly smooth process. There was probably only about 3 foreigners on the flight, and I was the first one off the plane, so made my way straight to the desk, paid my fee. Took about 15 minutes in total, and there is actually a separate immigration line for visa on arrival people. Once you obtain the visa, you can then exit through that lane, so you don't have to queue up with the Bangladeshi nationals. So pretty much out of the airport within about 20 minutes after currency exchange, picking up a SIM card and baggage collection. So I'm in the suburb of Gulshan at the moment, which is a more upmarket kind of suburb within Dhaka. It's where a lot of the embassies and that are. So we're just going to head out and explore the city this morning. Later on I'm actually heading down to Old Dhaka, which should be pretty interesting. I've heard it's pretty much another world down there. So we'll have a bit of a look around here and then we'll head down that way after lunch. So yeah, the view from my hotel room's pretty sick. Right on the riverbank here, and you can see down the river some apartment blocks and things across the skyline. Got a bit of local activity on the other side of the river there. There's like a footpath that goes along parallel to the riverbank, and there's a shit ton of rickshaws here, but not necessarily the moto type, like the manual Tregley push bike type. So I might scab a lift in one of those a bit later. But right now we're going to get out and explore Gulshan and see what it's got to offer. Right, so the city of Dhaka actually rose to prominence in the 17th century when it was the capital of the Mughal Empire within the South Asia region, up until the time when, prior to Bangladesh's independence in 1971, the capital of East Pakistan. And obviously now it is the capital city of Bangladesh following independence in 1971, and has since grown to accommodate a population of over 21 million people in the greater metro area. That is just staggering. It's almost the population of Australia in one city. So whilst the city's grown as a result of citizens from rural areas migrating to the city, it's also grown exponentially as a result of the city boundaries being expanded. Yeah, before coming here I was expecting an absolute shit show, but Gulshan's actually not bad at all. It's pretty modern, and whilst the traffic's sort of mildly heavy, it's not too bad. It took, I think, less than half an hour to get here from the airport, and getting out of the airport wasn't that much of a problem at all. So pretty stoked about that. I've got a feeling though that once I get down into South Dhaka, it's going to be a slightly different story. So that building there was the Gulshan Central Masjid or Mosque. Obviously on this trip, having spent a couple of weeks in Pakistan, I've come across quite a few mosques. Always admired the architecture. They seem to take a lot of pride in the construction. That one there, like the style's a little bit different from some of the other mosques, and especially the Mughal mosques that there's quite an abundance of in Pakistan. But still, yeah, the architecture, I've got an appreciation for all different kinds. The area where the hotel is in, it's actually really quite green and leafy, and you've got the trees, as you can see where I am right now, hanging over the footpaths. It's actually quite nice. Waste management seems to be not too bad in this part of town anyway. I'll have a look when I get down to Old Dhaka a bit later on. Yeah, it's actually quite modern here, a little bit more modern than what I was expecting. And you've got a couple of big name hotels in the area. Yeah, it's not too bad. We've got a Hilton under construction just here. We've got the Western Hotel just up here. Actually, the other hotel that I was at last night, the Amari, is actually not too bad either. There's a rooftop bar on the 15th floor where you can enjoy a couple of beers and a shisha if that's what you enjoy doing. Just coming up to a roundabout here in central Gulshan. There's pedestrian crossings like at a lot of the side streets going off the main drag. Unfortunately, the cars don't stop when you're standing at them, so yeah, don't expect them to. It just feels like the likelihood of getting clipped by a passing vehicle here is, yeah, the likelihood's pretty high, I think so. Especially if you're walking around with the camera and not giving as much attention as you should be to what's going on around you can be quite hazardous. But so far the people here seem pretty cool. Been getting a few smiles and just inquisitive looks. But yeah, again, I think the camera that a lot of people are quite, whether it's intrigue or suspicion, I'm not sure, but yeah, often when I'm walking past and even when I've got the camera like down by my side, people sort of look down at it. So I've just crossed over a bridge from Gulshan to a suburb called Banani, and this seems to be like more of a business district. There's a lot of banks and office buildings and things. You can sort of see the cityscape behind me there. But again, yeah, it's actually quite nice. Like, it's fairly busy, but they're not doing too bad a job with keeping it reasonably clean, which is good to see. Naturally, I'm getting a lot of looks. A lot of people staring at me when I'm walking past, but certainly became accustomed to that during 2 weeks in Pakistan. It's just unbelievable. Imagine having to deal with this shit every day. Yeah, I've seen some pretty insane traffic before, like in Jakarta, Manila, but I reckon the traffic here has got to be close to the worst I've ever seen. Bizarrely enough though, it actually seems to be moving, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a traffic jam forming or anything like that, so certainly hope that's the case. I'll be heading down to Old Dhaka in a couple of hours and certainly don't want to get stuck in gridlock. So if you're in Dhaka and you go into an establishment for a meal or a drink, I just recommend you check the prices before you commit. I just pulled into a cafe back there to have a cappuccino. Set me back 380 Dhaka. which is about $7 Australian, which is a fucking rip-off. I mean, I don't tend to bitch and moan too much about prices when I'm travelling, but I just think that's clearly unreasonable. As you can see, it's really quite a pleasant neighbourhood. You've got the shade from the tree canopies, and it's actually quite green. Yeah, as I've said before, they're actually looking after the streets quite well, I think. Now that was damn close. Old mate's just pulled straight out in front of a bunch of cars to get on the main road, and we were millimeters away from getting clipped. But one thing's for sure, and this was evident in Pakistan as well, is just how tolerant road users are of each other. Like, just with how close they get to each other, and there doesn't appear to be much in the way of road rules. It's, if your vehicle can fit, then you can do it, and there's a lot of cutting off, and a lot of the time vehicles don't stay within the lane, but most of the locals here just seem to be quite accustomed to that. So we're going over a bridge at the moment. Old mate actually had to get off his bike and push the rickshaw up the slight incline to get us over the bridge. Alright, so back at the hotel now, and yeah, had a pretty awesome couple of hours just wandering around the neighbourhoods of Gulshan and Banani. So quite pleasantly surprised, actually. Anyways, I've got to pack up my gear now. I'm going to call a Uber, head down to Dhaka. I've got an Airbnb down there for the next 2 nights, and I get to spend the next day and a half exploring that part of town. So it should be pretty interesting, and I'll be back with more soon.